So, now let us go on to session 2. Okay. This will answer the other two questions that I posed in the very beginning. Why do we need intellectual property rights? I think you wanted to know a little bit about that discussion part of it, right? For example, right, and some of it will be hopefully covered here. Otherwise, we will take it up at the end, okay? Because that's as I said, it's an open-ended question, that one. And who needs intellectual property rights, right? Okay. Now, strategic IP management. This is a subject that even top executives of companies have to grapple with. It's not an easy thing. It is 3 easy words, but incredibly complex job. So, what does that mean exactly? Corporate vision, mission and strategy. Every company has got something called mission. Mission means what it would like to do today, okay, in the next 1 year or next 2 years. Okay. The company stands for certain products, certain brands and certain services. Okay. That is mission. Vision is where the company would like to go 5 years from now or 10 years from now. What that means is, it's not just simply growing the same business to a certain point. It's like how do you diversify it? Are you going to do business only in India? Are you going to go into multiple countries, so multiple markets? Or are you going to expand your product lines? Are you going to acquire new companies? Are you going to, you know what I am saying? How much of it is going to be organic growth? How much of it is going to be through acquisition and merger? All of these things will be part of your vision. Okay. Then strategy is, you are going to tell how you are going to get there. I mean, otherwise your vision is a pipe dream. Okay. So, that is the point. Strategy is going to tell the others and of course your own employees how you are going to get there, right. These things are then going to be reflected or must be reflected in a good company. I am talking about it has to be reflected in R&D strategy, legal strategy, accounting strategy and finance strategy, and these all of them will be reflected in your intellectual property strategy. So, good companies proactively, in fact I put it as intellectual property, it is actually intellectual capital management, but I do not want to confuse that right now. It is much bigger than just intellectual property, but certainly intellectual property strategy. Okay? And next level higher than this is intellectual assets strategy, higher than that still is intellectual capital management. Okay. So, but certainly intellectual property strategy, and that will be reflected in comprehensive business strategy. So, when you say strategy, this comprehensive business strategy will include all of these things. Okay. So, for example, if you are a good company, you have to say for instance, it is not just like you invent, you take a patent, you invent, you take a patent, or you do something, you take a copyright, you take a copyright. It is not like that. We have a vision. I know where I am today and where I want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So, that means our activities have to be geared towards that. So, my activities are defined as short term with short term goals, medium term goals and long term goals, right. So, now whatever I am doing long term, I do not want my competitors to know. Is that true or not? If you are a company, you have to protect your intellectual property. So, therefore, what happens is, what projects you are going to be working on, you have to make sure that no one else is working on, or no one else can know what you are working on. So, intellectual property strategy is going to be made for that. Okay. So, yeah.
So, you say that these 5 strategy comprises of a comprehensive strategy, which
Business strategy.
A comprehensive business strategy which majority of the business or a successful business should take. Don't you think so? It varies from one market to the other. I mean, R&D might be very relevant to the pharmaceutical sector, but it's irrelevant for a cement sector company. I mean,
who said that?
So
how did you say that?
So actually, I have studied it, and I have found that the R&D intensity of the companies within the cement sector is 0.02% or something like that, and not in a duration of 10 years, but 25 years.
Yeah.
So
Where did you read that? In Indian report it is? You read?
I myself have tested it.
Okay. No. The point I'm trying to say is, this is a misconception. If you are a company that want to be for the long term, tomorrow a new building material will come that will replace cement altogether. If you are a cement manufacturer and you think that only cement matters, improvements in cement, so a particular technology has got technology growth curve. Okay. Now that particular technology may have reached its peak. So more inventions into that are not going to yield economic results. That doesn't mean that more inventions are not possible. That's a misconception, first place, number one. You get it, right? Any businesses don't pursue inventions because they don't have economic returns on them, not because they are not inventions. So they stop inventing because they know that any other improvements, in fact, if I have to show it to you, yeah, thanks. Are you able to see? Okay. Now, here is the technology you came up with, cement technology. Okay. It starts showing improvements, okay, and then it becomes slow, and then now it's like that. Okay. Now, here also there is still technology growth possible. Okay. Now, what happens is, there are two things. If you are in this stage, you must still do research, R&D. If you are in this stage, in fact, long before you are getting to this stage, you must, have you heard of S-curve? Okay, think of this as like this. Okay. Now, before this reaches, you need to come up with a new technology. That's called technology obsolescence. And you may be a cement company, but you need to do the work for what is the next cement substitute. So R&D doesn't mean you're going to be working only on cement for the rest of your life. Okay?
So actually my question was...
No, I understood your question. Your question was, in cement industry, the R&D is irrelevant.
Not irrelevant.
No,
There is
okay.
no incentive.
Now you changed it.
No, there is no incentive actually.
Now again, no, you made the point. R&D is irrelevant because there's only they cannot almost everything that needs to be found has already been found.
No, sir. Actually, I think I communicated it
Wrongly. Okay. What do you mean by that?
My question was that what I have found that the companies, as they are dominant players and they don't have the incentive to innovate, and they don't have...
Why don't they have incentive to innovate?
So the majority players, the market is highly concentrated. It is highly oligopolistic. So that's what I was telling.
Again, so that the point is, even oligopolistic market, if you look at, sorry.
Can I say, take an example of Bajaj scooter.
Okay.
In our country. They developed some model, and the households in India feels comfort, durable one. Even that comes even 40 years, 50 years, the same scooter is running.
Right.
And they don't have any incentives to go for investing on R&D to improve the technology.
Correct.
But once our economy opened in 1990s, then the new manufacturers comes and they have the world design.
Yes.
Kind of.
This is what it is.
Yeah. So
They came up with this. That is. But what I am trying to say is, if you are a Bajaj scooter manufacturer, you wouldn't just be happy because everybody is still buying. I'm not. We will be destroyed. A good company will actually, during peacetime, I would like to call it as peacetime. The competition already entered, that is wartime. During peacetime, you do technology decisions. Even more important, the profits from your existing business must be invested in R&D to come up with the next S-curve. And that's what I'm also trying to say is, you talked about perception. Okay, perception is only because what happens, even if let's say if I'm here, think of it here, even if I can show that this point is better than this point, okay, if the consumer perception difference, if the consumers cannot perceive it, let us say, suppose I came up with a headache medicine, okay, one cures in 2 hours, another cures in 1.5 hours. I have laboratory test results to prove that. But consumers will say, I don't detect any difference. It's the same thing, because that 0.5 hours difference, nobody is unperceivable. Then what happens is, even though you have that kind of technology, you have this technology over this technology, you cannot be happy with it. What you need to say is, I need to create either perceivable difference, but the technology itself has reached its maximum, or I need to come up with the next S curve. What is that next S curve? I'll say that if I cannot come up with a medication that gives relief to your headache faster, I will say your medication upsets stomach, mine doesn't. So it's not anymore about headache, but I'm going to say your medication upsets stomach, mine doesn't. So I'm trying to differentiate. It's called creating differentiation. So in fact, in India, most businesses are in really languishing bad state. I would say the reason because people don't understand the value of R&D. Really telling you, this is a sad state of affairs, and we are going to lose very badly because, and many companies are run by people for the last 100 years. Like I've seen spice manufacturers here. We have done research on spice manufacturers here. They are excellent businesses. But you know what, they got it from they were very proud to tell us that my great grandfather started the business, my grandfather also had it, my father also had it, I also have it, I'm also selling. What products are you making differently? Same products, sir. What is the big deal? See, the point is, you have to understand that research, when I said you should do R&D, the person will say, what will you do? How can I change garam masala powder? That's it. My hing is very famous. Same hing, same masala, same everything. And then I showed them, in fact we did a special studies project, my MBA student went and told them, oh my God, they are not at all thinking. See, what I am trying to say is, every company has incredible opportunity to invent new things. And only those, and some do, and only those will move forward, the rest of them at some point will die. No, not at all. Not at all. There are, for example, there's one thing called Excedrin in the US. That is the fastest acting pain reliever. Okay. Then there is something called Bufferin. That essentially, by the way, that fastest acting pain reliever causes diarrhea. In some cases. Yeah, that causes diarrhea. And what happens is, the other one, Bufferin, acts slower, but it upsets stomachs very little. The number of cases are almost negligible. So they make the claim, we are also a pain reliever, but we don't cause upset stomachs. So that's their point of difference, and those people they'll say like this, pain reliever for sensitive stomachs. So you won't mistake, right?
Actually, they are hitting the perception of the
Not even perceptions. They want you to. That's a reality, fact. It's a fact. But I want to convey it in a way that you can understand. Yeah, that's called marketing communication, right? So, did I answer you? See, the point is actually, every company, in my opinion, requires R&D. R&D, forget about it. I'm saying innovation. Okay, it's not even correct. Innovation, right? Innovations can come from technology or it can come from business. So both. But to think that, see, business innovations can be wiped away, technological innovations can stay, because they have, stronger protections are possible. Okay, but I have done both, so that's why I'm telling you. Gillette, okay, Gillette company, right? Again, I worked as a competition for Gillette in another company. So Gillette, for example, the company that I worked for, S.C. Johnson, was the first one to come up with shaving gels. Okay, they are the inventors of shaving gels. when the patent ran out, Gillette copied. So whatever you see Gillette shaving creams are actually copies of the original patent of the company that I worked for instance. But Gillette has come up with these razor blades, right? That is their absolute bread and butter. Okay, they came up with one razor. Sorry, they. In fact, if I have time, I can present the whole 1 hour of that particular case. Gillette actually came up with first what you call a roller handle and blade. Okay, they are the ones who came up with the blade also. Two-edged, double-edged blade. Actually, Gillette invention. It's a highly innovative company. Then they came up with a disposable blade technology. Then they came up with 2 blades. Then they came up with 3 blades. That's Mark III. Okay. Then they came up with Fusion, which is 5 blades. Okay. Then they actually had even higher. But what happened was, they knew that after, in fact, between 3 and 5, consumers said we don't see hell of a lot of difference. Okay. So they already hit their roadblock, which is the point I showed you. Okay. Beyond that, you can come up with 9 blades. But if the consumer perception says I don't see any difference, it doesn't matter. Even if you can prove in a laboratory that I am giving you closer shave, I am not seeing it. I don't care. Why do I need? You know what I am trying to say? So, but it costs a lot of money to you. So therefore, you are going to you expect a lot of more what you call price for that. I am not going to pay as a consumer. So therefore, what happens is, you know that due to consumer perception, it's impossible to prove. And even if I say that I have laboratory evidence, I don't care. So therefore, what you do is, you have to worry. And that's exactly what Gillette did. See, because I was head of R&D for another company, so I have to precisely analyze this Gillette to see what they are doing. So that's called intellectual property analysis. Not only your company, you have to do other companies also, entire market. So there I found that Gillette has acquired a laser company. What has got laser company? Why would they acquire laser company? Other people are thinking this, they never made any sense to them. So I had to explain to them that next, what you call disruptive technology is laser hair removal. So if laser hair removal comes into existence, what will happen to razors? For example, laser, you go into whatever spa, and then they will do the job, and you don't have to go again do a hair, worry about hair for the next 3 months. Whereas if you do a razor shave, you have to worry more frequently. Absolutely, right? So imagine that razor technology will be completely wiped off by a disruptive technology, that kind of thing, which is not at all even related. Not even related. I mean, not even obviously related. So what happens is, therefore, new technologies can come and wipe off existing products in just a matters of seconds. If we are not careful, that's exactly what happened to Eastman Kodak. Digital technology wiped them from a 70% market share to 0. They are bankrupts. They filed for bankruptcy. So therefore, even if you are a cement manufacturer, remember, there is no company in this world, if they want long-term survival, you must do innovation. Simple as that. Okay, and part of that is R&D. Okay, technology or business, whichever you are good at. But
Business strategy could be
absolutely, that's exactly what it's. Innovation strategy is the heart of a business strategy.
actually that is seen, but that R&D, particularly the technology.
Depends on whether you are a technology intensive company or business model. If you are an Amazon, in fact, even then, technology innovations are extremely vital. Like for example, the largest innovations in the entire the last 300 years are all technological innovations. If there was no what you call locomotive that was built, that was a technological innovation. We wouldn't have transportation possible. If there was no aircraft built by Wright brothers, we wouldn't have aviation. If there was no Titanic, there wouldn't be any commercial shipping. If there is no computer, we would all be in the caves. True or not? Right? So, yeah.
Just a small addition of this system. A very good example, one just I am trying to add on. There was a study by US that carbon emission is deleting the ozone layer. So when this research came out, there was a huge industrial lobby which was opposing that research, saying that this is not a scientific research. So some new scientists were hired to negate that research, that it is not correct. And then this tussle went on for 50, 60 years. That time, Russia, China, and Americans were doing the steel production by their mills.
Correct.
And Siemens understood that difficulty, and they were putting a lot of money in research and development. And when eventually it is accepted that CO2 is affecting the ozone layer, they had developed the composite steel plants, which less emission, putting the coal and then generating the iron ore and then till the blades, composite plant. Tata never cared of it. Now the Tata is hiring the Siemens technology,
Right.
and they are little out of a steel business to be making this.
Yes.
A lot of other things, but
Right.
core business is not in their hand.
Right.
So
That's correct. So there is.
now we have accepted the climate change also.
Yes. No, but not when we say we have accepted, it also depends on whether you are a Trump supporter or a Clinton supporter. Okay, so it's not that simple. But the point here is really anything that can be scientifically proven can also be negated by, for example, there are people even today who believe in creation. Okay, and they vehemently believe what exactly their book says, and no other scientific evidence, because they also bring scientists from Harvard or MIT and say that man will he'll be wearing a gown like a pastor basically, and then he will be totally negating any other scientific evidence in a very logical, nice way. So the point is, it is possible to do. Question is whether you. By the way, same thing with global warming, which is essentially what you are saying. Like CO2 is a greenhouse gas. If you deny that greenhouse gases can cause global warming, yeah, it's possible if you are a Republican, not a Democrat, I suppose. So now let's talk about value creation. Okay. Sorry if this will work, I suppose. Let us see if it works. Okay, that's good. Okay, these special effects are needed for this particular slide. See, value creation, I pointed out in the first seminar, right? What is that value creation, right? If you look, I'll point out scenario. Value creation happens because of innovation. Okay, innovation itself can take place because of either technological innovation or business model innovation. Okay, now this essentially shows how the technological innovation happens, because these are all words. People will throw these words anywhere. You will see newspaper articles also, people saying technological. And what does that mean? Right? You have to have done it to know what it is. So let's say hypothesis. How does that hypothesis start? Where does that hypothesis start? Hypothesis, in my opinion, starts from consumer. One way is, suppose you are a company, you are making either products or services, right? You have to know what your consumers' needs are, wants are, challenges are. These are different. Needs are not wants. Okay, challenges are not necessary. So needs, wants, and challenges. Remember that, right? So once you know the needs, wants, and challenges, you want to come up with, let us say, this is what they are saying, and this could be potentially a solution for it, right? That is a concept. That is an idea. That is a hypothesis. A hypothesis is, this is what they are saying, this could be a solution for it, and therefore if I come up with this kind of product or service, I can solve that problem. Okay, that is a hypothesis. Now that hypothesis, can it be experimentally proven? If you ask the question, okay, and the answer is yes, that's when you have discovery. Because these words get used very frequently, and I want to point out, that's when it is called a discovery. But when you take a discovery and ask a question, does it have practical relevance and value? Okay, second question is later. If the answer is yes, then you have an invention. So if a discovery has practical relevance and value, then that becomes an invention. Okay, then if you ask the question, is it novel, useful and non-obvious? If the answer is yes, then that is a patentable invention, potentially patentable invention. I should be even more careful. It does not mean that just because you thought it is patentable, it is patentable. It is potentially patentable. Okay? You can apply, hopefully. Okay. Now, does it solve a consumer or social need? If you ask a question, if the answer for that is yes, now you can say that you have made a prototype or prototype. In my opinion, a lot of the times people, without doing any of this, will make this prototype or prototype in the laboratory and believe they have a technology. They do not, and this happens in most engineering labs. Okay? That is not what is technology. At least that is not the industry definition of what technology is. In industry, you have to again see whether this invention has consumer or social need. You see what I am trying to say? If you have an invention, you can make some kind of prototype. Okay? Let us say, for example, you have developed a technology that runs on rough terrains, and you make a small modular vehicle, and you say simply this can be used on Mars and moon, but you have not talked to astronauts to figure out what are the problems and see whether your prototype can solve that problem or not. You see what I am trying to say? If you simply think I saw a movie like Yuri Gagarin or something, and there the guy was trying to do something, and then therefore I also made this prototype, it's not going to cut it. You see, very often the technologies that are developed unilaterally in laboratories are these, without any consumer understanding. Okay? But if you do that, let us say, that will become a prototype. Then the next question to ask is it scalable? Is it manufacturable? Is it safe? Are there any regulatory hurdles? If the answer to that question is yes for all of them, now you have a technology. Again, in academic laboratories, this is why I was talking about industry collaboration, right? If you do not do this, then the question of not even getting here, and then if you do not do this, you cannot even get here. So it is not a technology yet. Okay? So if you do that, then it is a technology. Now you are ready for commercialization, because you know that it is scalable, it is manufacturable, it does not have any regulatory hurdles, and it is safe, right? Then you do commercialization. First one, okay, is called consumer pull innovation. Why is it called consumer pull? Because consumers told you, educated you, what is it that they need in terms of their need, want and challenge. You actually came up with a technology to solve that problem and delivered it. That technology is in the form of a product or a service, right? So you are basically giving them what they are looking for, right? That is why they will buy. So therefore, if you say I spent 100 rupees for making it and I want 300 rupees for this product, if the need is so bad enough that they will say, okay, I am willing to pay 300 because I am suffering, therefore 300 is nothing for me. So your profit margin is determined by the consumer's willingness to pay, not just you arbitrarily deciding, oh, I want 300% profit and let me put it anyway. So that is the pricing strategy part. Okay, so this is called consumer pull innovation. But there is another kind of innovation that is possible, which starts in basic sciences, and I should add engineering in this. So basic sciences and engineering also will actually originate hypothesis testing, and then they can come up all the way here. Nothing prevents academic laboratories from also getting here, absolutely not, and there are many professors who do. But I am just wanting to say that you have to know the distinction between somebody who makes a prototype without doing this and somebody who makes a prototype doing that, right? So this is different mode. So here ideas are originating in basic sciences or engineering. So therefore those are called market push innovations or technology push innovations. Okay, they are called technology push innovations. And there is a third one. Both of these, because require consumers to articulate their need, want or challenge, both of them. Okay? So it is considered as articulated need, but there can be unarticulated need. Consumers do not even know that they have a need. There are situations like this. If you work in the commercial world, you will find, okay, good companies, great companies are actually looking for unarticulated needs, because articulated needs everybody will, all your competitors also know, but unarticulated needs. So what they do is, like, you go into the consumer's world, live with the consumers, okay, eat, drink, sleep like the consumers, okay, pretend that you are a consumer for some time, and then figure out how their lives could be different, how their needs could be satisfied that they haven't even recognized yet, right? And that is the third one, okay, that is called design driven innovation. Though design driven innovation can be even for articulated needs, but again, as I was telling you, in industry that word is used for, design driven innovation is used for unarticulated needs, okay. So that is what that is. So now all of these innovations therefore would require what is called technology management strategy, and this is where the field of management of technology is very important. Second one is, you should have IP strategy. If you do not have good IP, now you can see why IP strategy becomes so vital, okay. So this is why you should have strong IP strategy, okay. So your value that is created must be protected by sound IP strategy. So now why do we need IPRs? That is the second question, right? So here are the actual points. To protect and promote innovation, the first and foremost what you call need for IPRs is to protect and promote innovation, right? If you protect and promote innovation, then you are going to create differentiation. Let me give you an example. You are also a soap manufacturer, I am also a soap manufacturer. My soaps are protected by patents, your soaps are not. So I am having companies like, I have got Lifebuoy, I have got Lux, I have got Rexona, I have got Dove. What do you have got? See, the problem is, because these brands have existed for more than 50 years and they have made hundreds of billions of dollars, not just small amounts of money, they have made billions of dollars, okay. Because Unilever's what you call annual income is about 70-80 billion dollars, and they have been in business for God knows how long, right? So they have made lot of money, all of this, for example, and that is because, can you tell the difference between a Dove and a Lifebuoy when you use it in the bathroom? Can you?
Yes.
Right. Can you tell the difference between, let us say, a Lifebuoy and an Nirma?
Yes.
Because these are all patent protected technologies constantly being introduced into these products, and that is how they have survived, okay. So that is what is called differentiation. If you can create that differentiation, then you can create competitive advantage, because every soap that Hindustan Unilever sells, whether it is Lifebuoy, whether it is Lux, whether it is Liril, or whether it is you name it, Dove, they have got separate consumer segments and they only go for that soap, nothing else, correct or not? Therefore that is what creates competitive advantage, but that competitive advantage is staying because they are IPR protected. If somebody can easily copy the same thing and reproduce, then that competitive advantage is gone. So it is because these innovations are protected by IPRs, they are staying with they are giving them competitive advantage. Then you can create wealth and value. What do I mean by wealth and value? Sorry.
So even with patent protection, how is it that in the same sector we have similar products? For example, hand wash. So Lifebuoy, Dettol, etc., etc. All of them end up being similar.
Correct.
Then they become substitutes.
Correct.
If I don't find a Lifebuoy, I can't take it. So even with patent protection,
There is no patent protection there. You pointed out good example. The problem is the basic composition of a hand wash soap is not patentable, okay. The ingredient that goes into it, the antibacterial, FDA has got restrictions. They only have sanctioned 2 ingredients that you can use no matter who the manufacturer is, and that is open for all manufacturers, okay, to claim antibacterial benefits. So you have either this, or you have ingredient A or ingredient B. So none of them are patent protected. So what do you do? So what do you do? Let me ask me. Let me ask you. What would you do to create differentiation? It's definitely not patents.
Good for skin, adding moisture or maybe some aroma.
Excellent, excellent. That's all. That's exactly correct. So the thing is, it's about skin feel, okay, or it's about experience, fragrance, right? Both means both skin feel and fragrance creates what you call associations. They're called brand associations. Okay, so you will have to know what is called brand equity. For example, Lifebuoy has got a particular brand equity, which includes smell, by the way.
Sir, I want to add one thing.
Yeah.
Isn't it very foolish for the detergent companies to add aroma in washing powder? Once it is out in the sun, everything will go. But they are actually creating this differentiation by hitting your.
Right. No, it's not that foolish, because what happens is for fragrances there are something called primary notes and secondary notes and even tertiary notes. So what happens is, when you actually pour the detergent into the washing machine, the smell that you get is not exactly the same that you get after you have kept your clothes in the sun. Okay, the secondary notes will still linger on the fabric. Okay, now on the secondary notes and the primary notes, because first experience is you're pouring, so that's an experience, right? I want to have a pleasant experience. Not if a perfume actually turns me off, I wouldn't even use the laundry detergent. So I want to make the first. By the way, another thing. In fact, your first contact point with the product doesn't happen in the washing machine. When you go to the grocery shop and you pick the thing, you do sniffing. That's where your actual, especially for soaps. I don't know, especially women. Like, do you smell or not?
Yes.
Right. Right. I know that. That's why I'm asking. I know the research data, but I want them to say it.
Yeah, sure, it is for
Right.
breads and all everything.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely right. That's the first contact point of the product and the company with the consumer. So that's where that fragrance and the get-up of the product. So better packaging gives you the feeling this is a more premium product, even though what is inside probably may not be. True or not? Vision, everything, all your senses we are monitoring. So just remember, consumer product companies are not foolish people. They are very, very smart. So what I was trying to say is, your competitive advantage is built on a number of fronts. Some patentable, some not. But even those that are not are protected by the brand name that is still IP protected. So what I was describing as brand equity, Lux, you expect certain standards, right? So if I use a more expensive fragrance and a Lux soap, I can still make up my profit, because I know that you expect in Lux, I can give the name Lux International, doesn't matter. But the point I'm trying to say is, I want to make sure that I make my profit margins and I introduce newer perfumes based on your changing requirements, right? So that is so the IP in that is actually brand name. So many people think it's only patents, copyright, something. No, even trademark, which is essentially brand name. Okay, trademark is a very neutral way of thinking, but brand equity is actually that, still IP protected. So that creates wealth and value. In fact, why I am saying value means even though two products, Nirma and Lux, may be similar, but still there are Lux consumers, die-hard Lux consumers. They will not go for Nirma. They will say it's a cheap product. I want to go Lux only. True or not? Right? So, and that is because that's called brand loyalty. That brand loyalty is value. Wealth is actually the wealth that you generate. Value is, it's happening more than they're buying the product. They are going to be telling someone else because they are a die-hard Lux fan. You know what I'm saying? So that is value. Then when you do this consistently on all your brands, what will it do to your company? Your company stock starts rising. That's because everybody wants to buy Hindustan Unilever stock, because I know that it's better than putting in a postal bond, post office bond, right? 6% or 12% or whatever I can probably make in 1 year. Why would I care for this lousy bond, right? So I will invest more. That all turns into investment, and therefore it will fuel more innovation. So innovative companies are going to become more innovative, are forced to be more innovative. It's not because they are nice guys and let me do it. No. So what happens is, as they invest more, those people are expecting, last year you gave me 12% return, now I am expecting 14 or 15% return this year. And this is the reason why companies are forced to innovate. Okay? All right. So that's the point I wanted to make there. Now IP strategy, there can be patent strategy, copyright strategy, trademark strategy, and trade secret strategy. Okay, what is strategic IP planning? Okay, first one is, if you are a good company, you take what is known as IP audit. When I say IP audit, it is all 9 forms of IP. On the other hand, you can also have just patent audit. If you are a technology based company, okay, strong technology based company, patent audit is a minimum. Okay? So patent audit is a minimum means you not only take a stock of what the patents you have, but it is more important to know what your vision is, what your mission is. If you know mission and vision, so you know the blueprint, where you are and where you have to get to. So that means to get, by the way, when you say I have to get to a particular point from A to B, that B usually associated with a rupee figure. So suppose I am a 10 crore company, I want to be a 50 crore company in 10 years. So it's not like simply saying, oh, I want to be there, I want to be on the moon, nice, it will be nice. Not that. You better say what exactly that dollar figure is or rupee figure is, and strategy, how are you going to get there? If I am an investor, I am not interested in listening to your lovely stories. Okay, stories are good, but the question is, tell me how you want to get there. So I am going to evaluate you based on what you said or what you say, and I am going to hold you accountable for it every year. That is why shareholder meetings become such a nightmare for CEOs. Okay, this is part of corporate governance. Anyway, so IP or patent audit. Now second one is, you do what is called patent mapping. So you not only take a look at what patents you have, but because you know where you have to get to in 10 years, what are the new IP that you need to acquire. So you know that. And so once you know that, for the technologies that you want to acquire or build within house, you either want to build those technologies within house or acquire from outside, right. So only through patent mapping you know who is doing that kind of work, because you wouldn't know that if. So that is why I was saying literature audit, literature work everybody does. When you want to do a project, you will do first thing literature survey, right, everybody does that. But patent also you have to do, patent audit. Yeah.
So in this, I have a question that if I do a patent mapping and I see that a company in USA is doing well or has a product which would help me out to reach out and to a position or a vision or will accomplish my vision.
Yes. Next, wait for the next slide.
So will other forms of strategy like mergers and acquisition can come under this?
Yes. Just next slide. You just one slide ahead of me. That's all. Okay. So patent mapping, you do patent mapping, and then that's also known as patent landscaping. By the way, if you hear these words, they are the same thing. Then you develop what you call integrated IP strategy. Okay. So that means you have a particular strategy for copyrights, patents, trademarks, whatever. So all of them should come into place. You know what I am trying to say? Together, they should work synergistically. Okay, that's the whole point of that. Now let's look at an example here. Patent mapping is a tool to search, organize, and analyze patent literature to transform raw patent data into intelligible and meaningful information that companies, inventors, universities can utilize. Okay, so now let's look at this one. So patent mapping is used to identify white space opportunities, new products and services, growth strategy, new market entry, IP portfolio, acquisition, licensing, JV, sustainability strategy. So all of these can be done through patent mapping, right. Now let's look at, this was the slide I was promising you, and it doesn't work. So okay, fine. This was the slide I was promising to show you. See, you are here, let us say, okay, this is a patented technology, okay, IP protected technology. Now, surrounding you, there are 3 other technologies, P2, P3 and P4. Okay. They are very close to you. Like remember I told you, my technology is, I have come up with the glass and you have come up with a handle. So, this P2 is like that. P1 is my glass, P2 is glass with the handle. Like that, there are others also. Now, what happens is, you know that you cannot survive for very long because these are improvements over you. These technologies are better than you. So, you may have to think, short term I can make this product for 10 years or 15 years or whatever, if consumers are willing to pay the money that I am asking, but after that my glory is gone. Therefore, what I can do, I can say I am going to acquire P2 and P3 and license P4. Okay? Now, that is an integrated IP strategy, patent strategy really speaking. Okay? So, now instead of owning a single patent, I own the entire area, right. So, what I do, first I launch my glass, next within 3 years or 5 years or whatever, I launch the one with the handle and I will say this one you can buy it, first I will charge premium price for just glass alone, okay. I will charge 10 rupees per glass. Once I introduce the glass with handle, I make the glass with handle 15 and reduce the glass without handle to 5. So, now you think you are a bargain. I used to buy, my father used to buy these glasses for 10 rupees, now I can buy it for 5 rupees. So, that's great. Whereas, I want to buy one with the handle, So, I have created a new consumer segment. Some of these people who are buying glasses for 5 rupees now graduate, that is called graduating the consumer from level 1 to level 2. Then I will introduce level 3 and level 4, that is called continual innovation, and that is the, remember I was showing one S curve, another S curve, another S curve, that is called product leadership.
That's classic Apple strategy.
Gillette strategy, long before Apple. So, Gillette. Okay. So, this is what it is. Now, coming to your question, there are areas like this P prime, P double prime and P triple prime money to do the work, even though they know that there is no laser technology that can do the job right now, right, like that. That is called white space. In addition to that, these things are new market entry opportunities for you. So, what you do is you acquire all the patents in this area, and because that is a new market entry. So, you will introduce a bunch of completely new product lines, or you can open an entirely new division based on those products. Okay. This is what is called strategic innovation. This is strategic innovation now. Okay. So, because it is all based on intellectual property. Alright. Now, how this in companies, actually in the world of commercial world, how these IP strategies work, I want to show you some of them, because I have been involved in many of them, all of them, almost most of them. Integrated IP strategy of a firm will be multi-dimensional, includes offensive as well as defensive. There are 2 types of strategies called offensive strategy. Defensive IP strategy is IP mining. It refers to active scanning and analysis of all patents that can directly affect one's business and technology development in practice. And then along with technology road mapping is key to knowing exactly what patents you have got and what patents you need to become more competitive. So, basically you do patent landscaping, decide what patents you want to acquire, what patents you want to license, or what patents, when you say acquire, you want to buy, right. So, that is called a defensive IP strategy. So, you own a whole area by this, right. Now, second one, IP licensing or selling. You may be sitting on a lot of IP, okay. Not all of your IP actually is useful to your own company. So, as again this is the job of both head of R&D and head of marketing business. These 2 senior most executives will sit in the same room and R&D will be educating the marketing. Okay, then basically you say that the business will be educating the R&D in terms of the long term vision, because business decides the long term vision. So, they will say here is where we are, but here is where we want to go, and the R&D executive will say then, okay, we need not only these particular technologies, but we need to keep these patents, because patents will cost a lot of money for keeping them, because patent maintenance fee is very high. Okay, and if you have especially patents in multiple countries, and you never think you are going to go into those markets, right? So there is no point holding those. So the R&D head will inform the marketing head, saying that we can keep these patents based on what you are saying. Okay, I agree, we should keep these, but we should sell or license these patents. So that is the first one. That's still a defensive strategy. Okay, intellectual property can be not only a source of competitive advantage, but also a source of revenue. What's the point of sitting? It's like having large number of cars sitting in your parking lot not being sold. Why would you want to keep such a large inventory, right? Because then your new models, there is no space for introducing new models, so it's a cost after some time. So that is why, you know, the year-end sale, that sale, this sale, they keep on getting rid of their products, right? Same thing happens to apparel also, okay, like sarees and others. Okay, so licensing the technology speeds up adoption and adaptation, and sometimes companies have, you know, that you can read it. Okay, these are the most important things. Define the benefits, conduct market research, undertake due diligence, quantify the value. Okay, this particular one I want to give you, this creating patent wall. This is an offensive strategy. I mean, I don't want to spend time on all slides, I will give you the slides. Okay, this is an important thing. I remember, because when I was working for one company, I shouldn't disclose both the companies, we were actually trying to license technologies because we were involved in open innovation. Open innovation model means basically our company was involved in getting technologies directly or products directly from other companies, either buying them or licensing them, right? And then very quickly moving up in the revenues and profits. So one of the companies that I was with is in France, in Paris actually. The CEO of that company and I was involved. We were actually having lunch together, and this is actually this is an ingredient manufacturing company that was involved in very top-notch ingredients, and they were supplying to Procter & Gamble, who is a competitor to the company that I am working, right? So what happened? So I asked him. He has a list of ingredients. So then I asked him, did you show this list to P&G also, Procter & Gamble? Then up till then, we were having really nice conversation. It was very bubbly, nice and all that. And suddenly his face became very grim. So I asked him, so because I wore a business hat, so what's the matter? Then he said, did you not sell this something called Metrixyl 3000? That's the ingredient. I know that they sold to P&G, and it is there in P&G's age-defying age-defying moisturizing lotion. Okay, P&G's, Procter & Gamble's. So then I told him that so you have supplied this, isn't it? He said yes, but you should know the story, he told me. Then he said, when we invented this particular technology, we went to both Unilever and Procter & Gamble, okay? And Unilever told us, we're not interested. I know if Unilever told that, because I had a research group of worldwide research group, including in India. Large number of PhDs, scientists and engineers were working on that, and so we do not want any infringement problem. So if they come and talk to us and we develop something similar, even remotely similar, they can say that you learned from us, and it can be a nightmare, regulated problem. It's a very big problem, legal problem. So I said, our people said no, we're not interested. Whereas they went to Procter & Gamble, and Procter & Gamble kept on telling them, oh, why don't you come tomorrow, why don't you come day after tomorrow, next month, next year. Like that they kept on moving them for at least 1 year. Okay. Meanwhile, what they did is they learned completely about the technology, and Procter & Gamble is very good at doing this. This is the company's invention. they came up with all of these patents, and launched at once. They launched all those patents. Sorry. So now this guy who is selling this ingredient cannot manufacture even, because if he manufactures, I mean, it's practically useless, because these are all like sharks waiting in the pond. So then they forced this company to sell the ingredient at the cost that they determined. Procter & Gamble set the price. You pay that much only we will pay. You better 100% supplier to Procter & Gamble. So he said, we have learned our lesson. So we don't want to deal with big companies like that, and that's a very powerful company. Procter & Gamble is involved in what you call product leadership. So they want to get to the market at any cost. So therefore, he said that I can share the secrets, but not as much. So the point I am trying to say is, so this patent wall can work in a very dangerous way. So, but is it morally right? I don't know. But is it ethically? I mean, what you call ethically right? Definitely not. Legally, absolutely. Patents will allow that. Okay. So now, ring fencing. Okay, ring fencing is building a, by the way, so-called whatever I showed you, actually the creating a patent wall is more.
So did the individual invention already have a patent?
Yes.
So how could P&G then create a patent wall, because due to the breadth and narrowness, etc.
Narrowness.
Won't the other patents not be certified by the?
No. They are sufficiently far that they are improvements. Right? So like I said, like for example, if you put a handle on a cup, you can make an argument that what is there in a handle, it's also made of glass, mine also is made up of glass, but the point, it's the functionality. It gives additional advantage. That's how it is. So those technologies, improvements of the original invention are allowed.
But don't you have to license to the?
You can. But they said that either you license our technologies to the other manufacturer guy, or you sell your ingredient to me as an exclusive supplier. And he had no choice but to do exclusive supplier. That's what happened to them. Okay. By the way, offensive IP strategies are ring fencing is the other way around. The first one is you can yourself protect your inventions with all those things. Think of it that way. Okay. Or here, for example, this is your invention, right? Okay, you yourself invent all of these things. In the original example was supposed to be that, sorry. Original example, this is your invention, you yourself come up with all of these. Okay, so you are protecting your invention with surrounding inventions. So this is considered as a defensive IP strategy. The same thing, if you turn the tables, someone else's invention, you actually ring fence them. Now, which is what the case that I explained was actually for this particular slide, you surround the competitor with your own patents, then it's a problem for the other guy. Okay. So offensive fighting IP infringements, so IP infringements is like, for example, you have your radar running all over the world to see, is there any kind of infringement of my patents, right? If there is, then I will immediately put a lawsuit on them, especially if they are already in a product and they are making a lot of money. And usually, who are the people who do that? Bunch of lawyers. They are called patent trolls. You have heard of patent trolls, right? Okay. Those people simply keep on buying patents of others. They are not at all manufacturers. They have nothing to do with manufacturing, but they are extremely smart lawyers. They understand the technologies and they understand litigation. That's all that requires. So what happens is, I am looking for which products have got technologies, and I will acquire patents which will very close to them. Okay? Basically, I am ring fencing. Okay? Then I will write a letter to the company. Look, you are infringing on my patent. There's 4 or 5 patents. Now, would you like to fight with me in a court? Because I'm an extremely good litigation lawyer. Okay? A bunch of them. I can go on for 20 years, no problem, because that's the only thing I do, right? Or are you going to pay money, settle money? So, invariably companies, it's like actually blackmailing, but a legal blackmailing, and this actually happens, it's happening in the world, and countries are grappling how to come up with rules to protect against patent trolls. Okay? So, that is one of the problems. Trademark infringement is very similar. Okay? I think let me see, I want to go to this point. What are intellectual assets? Okay. Remember I told you that intellectual assets are higher than intellectual property. Okay. So, patents, copyrights, trademarks and registered designs, okay, are considered as IP. Trade secrets and codified proprietary knowledge. When I said codified proprietary knowledge, remember you said trade secret, I said it is not, it is codified proprietary knowledge or proprietary knowledge. Codified means, suppose there is a factory, okay, and in the factory there are 2000 employees, but 10 of them, given the same machines, given the same raw materials, given the same everything, conditions 8 to 5, they produce 3 times more than the rest of the employees. Okay? Now, they figured out some way of doing that is exceptionally more productive and better, right. So, what you do is you talk to them and find out what is it that you are doing different compared to the others that is resulting in such very high outputs. That you will document, you will say, you will create a manual, stepwise procedure manual, right. Now, that becomes not only proprietary knowledge, but it is codified in the form of a manual. That is called standard operating procedures manual, for instance. That is still a confidential property of the company, that is not a trade secret, because what happens, that kind of manual is going to be given to all the other employees. So, even though it is only known to your company employees, at the 100 of them or 200, whatever, whatever initial number I cited, all of them know. Therefore, it does not qualify to be a trade secret, but it is codified proprietary knowledge. This is all considered as intellectual assets. So, when you are, let us say, engaged in the sale of your company, for instance, or sale of a brand that involves codified proprietary knowledge, you must take into account the value of these also. You should value them. So, you are not this, what I am trying to say is, if you do not do it, that is why it is called intellectual asset management or intellectual capital management. So, the value of your company is reflected in these things. Okay. Intellectual asset valuation, when you measure what you are speaking about and express it in numbers, you know something about it, but when you cannot or do not measure it, when you cannot or do not express it in numbers, then your knowledge is of meager and unsatisfactory kind. Okay. Lord Kelvin said that. Okay. Now, the 2 W's of valuation of IP, you need to know who you are doing the valuation for, why you are doing the valuation, and that determines how the valuation strategy. So, IP valuation is one of the hottest areas, okay, if any of you want to get into it, okay, because that is where incredible expertise is needed. It is not at all an easy thing. Okay. So, there are 4 different types of valuation approaches: cost approach, income approach, market and hybrid. Okay. I do not have time to go into it, but just those are the ones. All right. Okay. Now, I want to answer the last question: who needs the IPRs? Okay. So, typically you think for profit organizations obviously require all forms of IP. In fact, all forms of IP are created for profit organizations. Okay. But do not be for a second under the impression that not for profit organizations do not require IP. They too require, such as research institutions, universities, NGOs, armed forces and government. All of them require IP, and then they are also producers of IP. Okay. So, IPRs are needed by all of them, and only recently countries are realizing, India is realizing, as a matter of fact. I have gone to Delhi on some of the initially the last 2 years. I had attended some of the national level IPR meetings, and I found that they are slowly waking up, and still they are fighting between lawyers and technologists. They think that only lawyers should have the then I had to tell them that, look, you need both to for this. So, anyway, India is actually becoming how to create awareness in all of these institutions, right. But when it think of IP valuation, commercial firms definitely, research institutions and universities, all of them have to do this. Okay, it's absolutely critical in my opinion. Okay, so what is the value? Why IP valuation is needed for profit organizations? Need to monetize the full economic value of their IP, so the information can be leveraged into revenues. Number one, for example, as I said, some of the IP is useful to you based on your vision for your own company, but the others, don't sit on them. Give it to somebody, either license it or sell it and create an alternative stream of revenue. Okay? There are many streams of revenues possible. For instance, I can license my IP and get licensing fee, and I can also set up my deals. In fact, I have done that. I can also set up in such a way that if you make a product and your product is selling, I will get 2 to 3% of royalties on your product also. So that will become an alternative stream of revenue. I still have the patent and I am getting revenues also. Okay? Enhance the brand image. The companies now, you know that in fact this has been found in a systematic research study, that when Wall Street had thousands of companies, a set of companies whose capital assets, okay, are, let us say, X, and comparable companies, I mean there are companies which are not, okay, let me put it this way, there are pharmaceutical companies with capital assets X. There are also non-pharmaceutical companies which also amount to value of capital assets X. But they found that pharmaceutical companies' stocks were trading 3 to 5 times more than, or even much more than 10 times more than the similar companies with similar capital assets. And they found that the difference is really intellectual assets. It's the intellectual assets that pharmaceutical companies have compared to the non-pharmaceutical companies that is really driving the stock price high. So the boost stock price and enhance market capitalization. So what happens is, if your stock is very high, then your market capitalization is also very high. So then what happens if my company, instead of, if you simply value my company on the basis of my what you call hard assets like factories, number of people, all of that, my company is worth only maybe 1 crore. But if you take my intellectual property, maybe it's worth 10 crores, right? Then what happens is, if I want to gain capital, do you think a 1 crore company, which is really a 1 crore company, will gain, or 10 crore company? So a 10 crore company will be able to attract more what you call raise capital, more favorable terms. They can have negotiating, when you go to a bank, you can negotiate. Okay, gain leverage, buy and sell transactions, make a financial report, okay, for taxation purpose, litigate, file, all of these things. IP valuation is absolutely critical, because if you are selling your company, you will get lot more than otherwise. So therefore IP valuation is an extremely important subject. Okay, now the other one is, actually last one is not for profit organizations like universities, like IITs or other research institutions, right? First thing is, you can commercialize or create startup on their own. So even academic institutions must recognize that your discoveries can be converted into inventions, your inventions can be converted into innovations, and taking the help of, let us say, marketing, other companies, industries, or you yourself, if you want to start your own company, nobody stops you from doing that. So that is very, very important. And other, like for example, I know already many professors who are at MIT, Columbia, I know Stanford and Johns Hopkins. They have all companies of their own. They are very good academics, at the same time they also have companies. Okay, you can sell or license intellectual property, enhance the brand image of the institution. An institution, suppose such as IIT Kanpur, if it's specifically known for, let us say, aerospace technology, or let us say what you call cloning technology, definitely will be saying, oh, if it is that, you better go there. This is the institute you have to go to. So that kind of competitive advantage we have an opportunity to build. So this is what I tell our people, though. This is for local consumption. To improve enrollment and recruitment of graduates. It's true. When people come to hire our graduates, when they know that these guys have worked on really fantastic technologies here, it works. So, this is the reason why IP valuation is needed.